Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to investor Barbara Corcoran, one of the sharks in ABC's business reality show Shark Tank, which airs Fridays at 8 p.m. She's also got a new book out called Shark Tales: How I Turned $1,000 into a billion-dollar business. Stick around. I know this little neighborhood podcast that could make millions for the right angel investor. So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is the Mr. Media Interview. You know, MrMedia.com, MRmedia.com. Stop by and check it out. There are more than 700 archived celebrity interviews for your listening pleasure. The show is brought to you today by Audible. Audible is offering Mr. Media listeners a free audiobook download and a free 14-day trial to give you a chance to check out their amazing service. You can choose a free audiobook from Audible's library of tens of thousands of titles, including today's top business bestsellers, such as The Big Idea by Donny Deutsch, Jay Elliott's The Steve Jobs Way, or even Shark Tales: How I Turned $1,000 into a billion-dollar business by my guest today, Barbara Corcoran. You can even download the biography of a comic book and graphic novel legend, Will Eisner, called A Spirited Life, which I wrote and read. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience of guys pitching me on all kinds of ridiculous ideas, including spray can music, in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. Barbara Corcoran has spunk. I, unlike Lou Grant, like spunk. Okay, is that TV reference a little too old for some of you kids? Let's try one that's a little more recent. Barbara Corcoran, a former Manhattan real estate magnate who once beat Donald Trump at his own game, is one of the stars of ABC's business reality show Shark Tank, airing Fridays this spring at 8 p.m. She's the girl in the band, but this chick shakes a lot more than a tambourine. In any given episode, sweet, flirty Barbara is as prepared to elbow out a competitor on Shark Tank as any of the boys. Everyone on the show has a unique entrepreneurial story to tell, and Barbara Corcoran is no different. Down on her luck, she got a boyfriend to give her $1,000 to launch a real estate business. And when she broke up with him later, well, okay, I'll let her tell the rest of the story in a few minutes. Or you could read it in Shark Tales, an update of her best-selling memoir, If You Don't Have Big Breasts, Put Ribbons on Your Pigtails. Now, this is Barbara's second appearance on Mr. Media, putting her even with my other favorite shark, FUBU apparel founder, Daymond John.
You've
Barbara.
had Daymond on there?
Twice.
What are you letting that guy on there twice for me only once? I'm upset.
This is your second time.
I know, but it hasn't happened yet, so I'm upset for the next one.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump right into it, folks. Welcome back, Barbara Corcoran. Barbara, hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So you're back for the second season of Shark Tank, and it looks like there's been a little bit of a shakeup. Some things are a little different.
Well, they have a guest shark now. They rotate that chair. Of course, Kevin Harrington's the main shark, but every few weeks they get a guest shark in that seat, which shakes up everybody, particularly the men who love to compete with the new competitor. Oh my God. It adds an edge to the show that's terrific.
Mark Cuban was one of those guys, and talk about shaking things up. How is he different from anyone else who's been on the show?
He extends us. For example, I don't think you've seen it yet in this season, but I think on 2 occasions when I offered a full price offer to the young entrepreneur, they were thrilled. He went and tripled it. I said, I'll give you the $300,000. He said, I'll give you $1.5 million. This guy's a billionaire. I'm a millionaire. And let me tell you, I never realized the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. This guy throws $1 million like he's giving the doorman a tip. It's intimidating. So the whole ante is up just by the sheer virtue of how fat his wallet is.
It was interesting from what I saw. He tried to buy an entire company as opposed to buying a piece. And it reminded me of this episode of Entourage that he was in where he played himself, and instead of buying a piece of this Mexican vodka company, he just tried to swoop in and buy the whole thing, and it seemed to have the same effect.
Yeah, it's a very intimidating effect because it's almost, even though there's no specific rule that says you can't go over the asking price, he makes up his own damn rules and throws the money around, and it takes you so much by surprise. Frankly, in one episode, I sat there with my mouth open. How embarrassing was that to watch? Very effective businessman, a real powerhouse.
Are there things that you and the boys on the show can learn from watching a Cuban operate, or is he just kind of reckless and most people just wouldn't do it his way?
No, can I tell you, I don't think there's a thing reckless about Mark Cuban. He's very calculating. He's a phenomenal negotiator, and more than anything else, he's a great strategist. That's what I learned within 20 minutes of sitting on that panel with him. He's got great strategy. He knows where he's going. He keeps his cards close to his chest while he's smiling the whole way, acting like he's dumb and naive. But he goes in for the throat and leaves no he leaves no room for anybody else. I frankly hated him within a half hour of meeting with him. But then I got to fall in love with him because his energy is so good, and he's well-meaning for the entrepreneurs. He's probably the best advocate of any entrepreneur there. He means it. He puts his money where his mouth is, and he moves forward.
Now, Mark Cuban, I understand him being on the show, but explain Jeff Foxworthy.
Well, Jeff Foxworthy was, I think, a pick of Robert Burnett, the producer. And, of course, he produces his other kids, the kindergarten kid show. I can't quite remember.
Are You Smart as a Fifth Grader?
Yeah, that one, right. He has enormous charm, like down-home charm. So you haven't seen him yet on this show. He's going to be on this Friday night. In fact, I think you're going to be surprised at what a savvy businessman he is. Remember, people think of him as a stand-up comic. He has built, as a result of his comedy, which is open to any other comic out there, equally successful, he has built a multi-million-dollar business just trading on that name. Smarter Than a Fifth Grader is recently, but just the one brand about the rednecks. I mean, he's Mr. Redneck. So his charm on that show is mind-boggling. And he, too, is a big spender, but when he puts the knife in, you're going to see, when he puts the knife in, you don't even know it went in and came out. He's just so down-home charming about the whole thing. I don't like him either.
You know, I heard this story a couple weeks ago about another entertainer, rock star Sammy Hagar, and about how in the 80s, when late 70s, early 80s, he didn't think his music career was going to take off. So yeah, I mean, it is. And yet he made a fortune over the years. He got into real estate. He started a liquor company that he wound up selling for like $80 million.
He didn't think his other career was going to succeed?
Hard to believe, right?
Really?
And then I think he started a travel agency for other rock stars, and he made a fortune with that. I was thinking, well, if Jeff Foxworthy could be on this show,
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, really, right? So for people who are joining the party late, let's review a little bit about how Shark Tank works. You and your fellow panelists are pitched on interesting, generally small business opportunities, I think.
Yes.
And then the entrepreneurs try to separate you from your very own cash as investors.
Yes, they do, which is our real cash. It's not ABC's, it's not Sony's, it's not Mark Burnett's big wallet. It's our wallet that's going down on the table, definitely.
And as Don Imus would say, how's that working out for you?
It's too early to tell. I have invested in 11 businesses to date. 2 are clunkers, I believe. I mean, I'm not willing to write them off as clunkers. I think the balance, 9 of them are clear winners. I think the real truth as to whether you win is once the business is sold, how much money you can make. So we are probably a good 2 or 3 years away from that because they're all small businesses. But their sales have gone through the roof, thank God, with the help of the initial exposure on Shark Tank. That helps you for 2 weeks. After that, does nothing for you. But mostly because of the spitfire of the entrepreneurs who are my partners. I have picked out great business people, experience and no experience at all, but boy, do they have that fire in their belly.
How much have you invested in these companies total?
A little over $1.2 million to date.
Okay.
And I still have 1 contract to close, so I guess another $100,000 over that.
And you said 2 of them look like clunkers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them you said you need more time to figure out. I don't know if you want to identify the 2 possible clunkers, but what characteristics have come out about the 2 that may be clunkers?
One, clearly it's a patent issue.
Oh.
In other words, what was supposedly a rock solid patent, and shame on me, that was both season 1. I'm learning as I go. the patent really wasn't what it was made out to be, you know. So there were many other people already infringing on that patent. And you know what happens in the patent space is you can defend a rock solid patent and it will still cost you $1 million if somebody wants to abuse it. But in this particular instance, it's not worth defending because it's not a clear patent for its use. And so that was a surprise, right? With the other clunker, it was nothing more than a representation of actual sales that didn't exist. So they were maybe sales, but positioned as definite sales. And so that made a sizable difference in the investment money put in for what kind of traction they already had or in actuality did not have.
Got it.
So I'm a very trusting individual, but in season 2, I've learned to surround myself with untrusting individuals so that they could really do the due diligence in a very meaningful way.
Got it. All right, well, Barbara, let's take a quick break. This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to and hopefully watching the Mr. Media interview with Barbara Corcoran, one of the stars of ABC's Shark Tank, and whose updated memoir is Shark Tales, How I Turned $1,000 into a $1 billion Business. And we'll be right back.